Hey, thanks so much for tuning into the Daily Dose for Spiritual Growth. This week, we will be focused on the book of Jude. You might be thinking, where is the book of Jude? Maybe you haven't even heard of Jude. Maybe you've never read it before. Well, if you haven't, you are, I was going to say in luck. That's not, you're not in luck. Hopefully, you will learn and grow this week from the Daily Doses. Well, the book of Jude is the second to last book in our Bibles, right before Revelation. And it's a safeguard. It's a safeguard for the church. And I talk about context often. I talk about how we have to understand who is God using to write his word and who is he writing to. Well, thankfully, this Jude explains it in his short one chapter book. So let's dive into Jude chapter 1. Jude, a servant of Jesus Christ and brother of James, to those who have been called, who are loved in God the Father and kept for Jesus Christ. So God is using Jude. Well, who is Jude? Well, it says here that Jude is the brother of James, also the half brother of Jesus. So we see here that Jude is the half brother of Jesus and he grew up with Jesus, right? What I love though about this verse, and very similar to James, and also an interesting fact is that, like James, Jude didn't really receive and acknowledge and accept Jesus as the Messiah until after he died. Now, he probably respected him. I don't know. But could you imagine? I mean, just think for a second growing up with perfection. I know my brother and sisters did. No, just kidding, right? I mean, it would be crazy to grow up with Jesus being completely sinless. However, what we see here is Jude saying something very similar to what James started his book with, a bond servant of Jesus. What he understood, what James understood, and also now what Jude discovered and understood is that the growing up and having the blood relation of Jesus pales in comparison to the salvation that they experienced through Jesus. And that's why they start their books with, I'm a bond servant. I'm a servant of Jesus Christ. I'm not just the half brother of Jesus. I didn't just grow up with Jesus. I am his slave. I am his servant. So really just speaks to the humility that Jude had. Now, he starts his book off very similar to some of Paul's epistles. He says, mercy, peace, and love be yours in abundance. Now, verse 3 says, dear friends, although I was very eager to write to you about the salvation we share. So he's saying what his initial intent was with writing this. However, it shifts. He says, I felt compelled to write and urge you to contend for the faith that was once for all entrusted to God's holy people. That word contend is a very interesting word. It actually comes from the athletic word. It actually comes from a wrestling mat. It really comes from fighting and this the diligent work and effort. Maybe you may not know this. I wrestled in high school. I was just this skinny rail. I wrestled 103. I weigh 110 right now. No, I'm just kidding. I weigh so much more now. But anyways, that word really means to really fight for it. And what are we fighting for? We're fighting for the faith. See, I shared that this book is a safeguard because we have to be careful. So our faith needs to be the safeguard for the things that might come in the way of our faith and our relationship with God. Why is that? Well, verse 4 tells us, for certain individuals whose condemnation was written about long ago have secretly slipped in among you. They are ungodly people who pervert the grace of our God into a license for immorality and deny Jesus Christ, our only sovereign and Lord. So, another translations would say, I think the NLT says they wormed their way into the church. And that is what we have to be careful for. The word heresy would be teaching false doctrine. And we have to be so careful. And that's why when you are part of a local body of Christ, a local church, which I hope you are part of one, obviously, I'm the pastor of a Shrewsbury Assembly, but if you aren't in the area and I encourage you to find a local church. But you need to be careful because just like any church, it is hopefully led by God, but also God uses humans to preach His word, to give out His word, and with that you can have pride and arrogance and insecurity. You can allow other people to worm their way in and teach false doctrine. And that is the importance of Jude. And that's why he shifted the reason why he wrote and said, you know what, I feel compelled to share about the contending of our faith. And so hopefully this week, as we dive into the book of Jude, we would understand the importance of recognizing and having the discernment to know what is true and what is false, and make sure that we are not easily deceived by false doctrine. Hopefully that is an encouragement to you. I'm excited to dive into this book and be equipped so that way we can increase our confidence and be able to contend, fight for our faith in Jesus Christ. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. We should tune in tomorrow for a daily dose for spiritual growth.